Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions, Monday afternoon, 4 p.m. BST. We've got Sharon Evan, Kata Phipps, and Ferris, and of course, Izabella Hamilton. Join us today. Again, this time we're going to be touching on the subject of mental health. Last week we covered fathers with myself, Leran, and Barkus. This week, the ladies' turn to talk about how they're nurturing their children, dealing with COVID, dealing with school, managing all of these things, including entrepreneurship, running a household, and all the different things that go into the life of the day-to-day of an entrepreneur. So starting with you, Sharon, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Sharon Evan, and I sell on Amazon, and I have a YouTube channel. And yeah, that's me, basically.
Cool. Excellent. Kata?
I am Kata Phipps. I also sell on Amazon and other places. I am a clinical psychologist by trade, and yeah, I'm a mom. That's why I'm here today.
Excellent. Anne?
Hello, my name is Anne. I am an Amazon seller as well, and I am also a mom, obviously. My two kids, Kai and Nala, are 3 and 4 years old.
Excellent. And Izabella?
Hello, everyone. I'm Izabella Hamilton, owner and CEO of Rank Bell. I also have a YouTube channel now, and I have one video, and I'm so proud.
Yay!
So when did that get started? Do you want to give the plug name of the channel as well?
Yes, it's Rank Bell.
Oh, okay. It's a Rank Bell channel. Okay, I didn't know if it was more individualized.
I just posted the first video, and yeah, I've been wanting to do it for a long time. So Sharon, I'll have to learn some tricks from you.
Woohoo! Congrats!
I'm going to subscribe now.
Thank you. I have all 14 of subscribers. It's amazing.
Cool. Excellent. Right, should we get started? So not everyone's seen it, but we covered the social dilemma last week. So just want to touch on a few points here. Who has seen it? I think Anne. Do you want to give a little bit of a rendition and what you took from that last week yourself?
I think that the biggest takeaway that I kind of hadn't thought about before, because I think we all know that when we're using social media channels or we're using Google or whatever, we know our information is being saved. But that information is being sold, and it's being sold to people whose interest is in keeping our attention on screen. So the flow of money here, like what they're after is keeping our attention on screen. That's the end goal. It's not making life better for us. It's not doing something that's going to help us out. It's trying to show us content that is going to A, make us buy things, and B, keep us online, scrolling on our computers, on our phones. So really the goal of these companies and the goal of where this money is going is to keep us online, which is not really the best, what's not in our best human interest.
Yeah. And who else has also seen it? Did you see it, Kata?
Yeah, I saw it. For me, I was obviously, because of my trade as a psychologist, always a little bit aware of the damage and the social impact of, social networks. And you can just see it. You can see it everywhere, how people are disconnecting even though they're physically together. That togetherness is no longer a thing. For me, it's been brilliant because I live far away from my birth country. So I just post one picture and I cover the whole world, literally. However, for people that are nearby, it's unnecessary, and it has taken away the value of true communication and time together and quality of it. So although it wasn't too new for me, it was impressive to see. One thing that I kind of had forgotten was how we get biased information according to what we've seen. I think that was really the worrying part, because even though I've been aware because of my trade, I still fell into the game and hadn't really thought about it for a long time. And that just comes to prove that it doesn't matter how prepared you are, you just still fall for it.
I think that sorry, Danny, I think that me, at least, I was kind of in the last generation of kids. I didn't have Facebook until after I finished college. And when they show the children and the effect of, number one, the things they're shown, because if they click on one Trump rally video, they're going to be shown more and more and more of that content. So they're thinking that they're getting that view of the world. And then the other thing is that, you know, when you're in middle school and high school, and it's hard enough, like you just want your own friends to like you. But if you're trying to get the whole freaking world on Instagram to like you, that's so much pressure. Like I barely survived middle school and high school as it is. It was hard enough. And I can't imagine, like, I would not have survived high school if I had Instagram and Facebook and, you know, friends competing on that level.
Yeah. I'm going to read out some quotes. These are from the movie or the documentary. I read these out last week, but just to give you a final wrap on it, it says the very meaning of culture is manipulation. How much of your life can we get you to give us? Yeah. We're the product. Our attention is the product being sold to advertisers. If you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. What else we got here? Social media isn't a tool that's just waiting to be used. It has its own goals and it has its own means of pursuing them. Going back to your point there, Anne, it's like a Truman Show for each individual. It's a marketplace that trades exclusively on human futures. We want to keep them doing this with their finger, so they're being programmed at a deeper level. Now, the one thing that really struck me there on that show, which was very scary, is when they're literally tapping into your psychology. Like what they were talking about is going into the stem of your brain and then repurposing what is going on there and manipulating that. And that is just really, for me, scary when they talk about that level. And there's a guy, I don't remember his name, but if you watch the movie, he works, he was at Google and he was part of the ethics team. And he wrote this long document and then it got sent all around to Google and it went around 3 or 4 meetings that day. And apparently the founders were going to sit down and have a meeting and then boom, silence. There was just a wall. Nothing was done about it. So there was a lot of support in the background. There's other people out there, like some of the guys that were invested into Facebook. They have pulled away. One of the growth managers there in the early days. And now he's saying how terrified he is with it. So one of the things I want to ask you guys, and then we'll get into the complete discussion, which scared me a little bit as well, is when they're talking about like Snapchat dysmorphia, where there's kids doing Snapchat and they're using these filters and they're asking their parents, and I'm not saying it's a large amount, but the fact that someone's asking their parents, I want to look like this, can I have surgery, scares the fuck out of me. I mean, can you comment as ladies that scares me if my daughter was to do that? Isa, do you want to step up first? What would be your thoughts on that?
Sure. So, yeah, this is definitely a very interesting subject because, you know, you don't have to actually be a kid to go through these things. Like as an adult and as females, and, you know, I'm going to speak for myself because I don't know how everybody thinks, but you know, I do look on Instagram and I see these models and, you know, I'm never satisfied. I'm never skinny enough. I'm never, you know, tall enough. I don't have those clothes or those or whatever. So as an adult, I know these are things that are persuaded to me daily when I scroll through Instagram. So if I'm an adult and I know exactly what is happening and still sometimes I cannot control how I feel about it, I cannot imagine what it will do to a child that, you know, the brain hasn't fully developed yet, does not understand the world fully. So it's definitely very scary. And, you know, social media has its own benefits. You know, like I created my whole business starting with social media. So there's definitely benefits and I wouldn't want it to just go away. But it's definitely an important subject to be discussed of where do you draw the line and how do you help our kids to not get so involved. It's almost like saying, hey, you're just watching a movie, like don't take it seriously. But when you do it every single day and it's part of your habits and it's part of your life, it's very hard to remember that that's not real life. So yeah, it's definitely concerning.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Anne, what was your take on it?
Well, my whole focus kind of the last sort of 2 years of my life actually has been thinking about and working on our cultural programming as women, right? And speaking from myself, that comes and women of my generation that were not so affected as youngsters. Like, we're still affected now by just societal programming of what we're told about what it means to be a woman, what we should look like, what we should act like. And that was originally just coming from kind of our physical environment and TV, but we didn't have TV 24/7, right? And now that there's like, Instagram life and those filters and TikTok. I mean, there's this girl in my town who posts TikTok videos and she like doesn't even look like herself. And I think it is so important for us, number one, to really focus on and form our own identities and really think about what's important for us and knowing what are the stories that we've been told about ourselves that we had nothing to do with. Like, what does it mean to be a woman? Are we supposed to be skinny and beautiful all the time? Are we supposed to be prim and proper? We each kind of like absorb our own stories, but we need to get a handle on our personal identity and get really strong on that. And with our kids, we need our kids to be forming their own identity, their morals and values. I think we have a harder job as parents now because we have to make sure that those internal values come from us and are developed really deeply in them. Because, for me, a big turning point in my life, I just got back from the Moon Dance, which is a spiritual event that I go to that's for women. And the first year that I went, I just thought, man, I'm so glad I have this, that I can bring my daughter, because it's a group of women and we go to the forest and we have no phones for 5 days. We have no shower. We're wearing the same clothes. We're in a sweat lodge. We're sweating. We dance and we sing and we take away like literally all the things that make us comfortable as women, makeup, mirrors, like we have none of that. And yet when we get together and we support each other and we focus inward and we sing songs that are about like unity and love, the feeling of like passion and strength and power that comes I realized, wow, when you take everything away, what's left is something really amazing and powerful. And it's all the other outside influences that are making us as humans, because it applies to men too, right? That's making us as humans feel not good enough. And why is media and social media trying to make us feel not good enough? So we buy stuff, and it's so culturally programmed. I mean, with my daughter, I'm always conscious, and people do it without thinking. And I try to be conscious in my comments on Facebook, because if people see my daughter, the first thing they say to her is, wow, you're so beautiful. You're so cute. And that's what she's hearing. And I can say to her as many times as I want, it's what matters on the inside that counts. But if every other person in her life who's not me says, oh my God, you're so beautiful is the first thing, she's going to think that's the most important thing about her. And if you think about ladies, like the comments, if you post a picture, and I bet this doesn't happen to you, Danny, you post a picture talking about business, people don't say, wow, Danny, looking smoking hot. Like, right?
No, that doesn't happen. Yeah, go on.
We post a picture and it might be that the caption has something to do with business or a family. But generally, if you take a look at the comments, even from friends, and it's well-meaning, we're so programmed. It's like, wow, you look so beautiful.
Do you think that as well, that if that message is put there as well, it can lead to things like entitlement and stuff? So, it creates maybe not a false economy, but, believe in the hype. It's like there's a balance between getting critical feedback and understanding, and your children is very young. But if someone said to you every day, you're beautiful, is there going to put something out there into the world, which maybe they get on their high horse a bit or overcompensate. And then one day someone doesn't say that to them and it shatters their illusion. Do you think that could also be a problem?
Absolutely. I think, I think the most important thing that happens when you're constantly hearing, if you're constantly being told you're beautiful, it just becomes like the norm for you. So yeah, if you're not you become dependent on that. It's like famous people, that they need that feedback from everybody else telling them that they're so great. And when you hear it all the time from outside, if you don't know on the inside who you are, you're going to be dependent on those messages from other people. And it's also just the thing of that you start to believe that that's the thing that defines you. What people tell you the most about yourself, you internalize that and think that defines you. So if your daughter's being told all the time that she's beautiful is the first thing, she's going to think, well, that's the most important thing. That's what means, that's what makes me mean something. So if I don't look beautiful, that means I'm nothing.
So it's very black and white thinking in that sense. I'm going to hand over to Sharon. What's your take on this?
Well, you originally asked what we as mothers today, I don't have a daughter, but I have nieces. And my husband's niece, yes, his sister's daughter, she is 12 and she's on TikTok all day long. And she's very skinny. Like naturally, her body, she's very skinny. And we're at their house like 2 weeks ago and she was wearing a bikini and she kept hiding her stomach because it was after we ate, and after you eat, your tummy gets a little bit bloated. And I said to her, are you hiding your stomach? Like very skinny with a tiny little stomach that just ate. And she was like, yeah, I'm fat now. And I was like, oh my God, like you're not fat now. You just ate. Like, and we're amongst family. What would she have done if we were amongst friends? So I think that your original question was, how do we deal with this as parents? I have a son. I don't know what it's like to be a mum to a daughter yet, but it's a very scary subject. Anne said we didn't have to face these things where we were younger. I was extremely bullied as a little girl. I was a skater. I wasn't blonde. My natural hair color is like Kata and Anne's. It's dark brown. And I had a monobrow and I was a hardcore skater and I was not popular and I was very, very bullied. And I think about it today and I'm like, when I was bullied, it ended at school. Today, kids are bullied 24/7 because there's Facebook, because there's Instagram, because it's all of that.
And it's psychological bullying now rather than physical bullying as it was when we were younger.
100%. And also, I remember part of me being bullied was the fact that, believe it or not, it's funny to think about it today, but I hated makeup as a little girl because I was a skater girl. Today, I'm like obsessed with makeup and I love makeup. It has nothing to do with other people. I just love makeup. I used to be a makeup artist. I originally wanted to do YouTube to have a makeup channel. Like that's my old history. That's something that I really, really loved. Like it's got nothing to do with that specifically. It was just something that once, but when I was 12, I didn't want to put on mascara like the girls did and things like that. And I was made fun of, and I liked my monobrow when I was a little girl. I didn't know it wasn't cool to have almost one eyebrow. But like I was extremely bullied, and I just think about that as a little girl. And it's funny because we're speaking about kids, but as we're speaking all these things, they're even relevant. Like for me, and I'm 32, right? Like I never used to have a problem with my nose, for example. But over the last 2 or 3 years, I can't stand my nose. Like when I see a photo of myself, all I see is my hardcore Jewish big nose. And like, it makes me really want to get a nose job. And I'm 32, right? And I never used to feel like this. I have I'm 100% sure it's because of the things that we're being fed all day. But I just think about that if I was now a little girl.
Can I ask you a question?
And think about it. Yeah.
Your husband dotes on you, yeah?
My husband what on me?
Dotes on you. You said to me he's your best friend.
He is my best friend.
So why would it matter? Why would you need to get a nose job done?
But here's the thing. I don't do what I do for my husband. I love my husband, and I know my husband loves me.
Yeah.
I know my husband loves me the way I am.
Yeah.
You guys said earlier, it made me think about my husband, about being told you're beautiful. Every time my husband sees me, he usually tells me I'm beautiful. So when he doesn't tell me I'm beautiful, I'm like, don't you want to say something?
Have you upset him today? Yeah.
Have you forgotten to say it? It's like, oh, you're so beautiful. But it has nothing to do with my husband. It's not him. It's me and the way I feel about
I know.
myself.
My point is that you're grown up, and some of the things you got that support. I'm sure your husband doesn't care about it. And what I'm saying is that not that you shouldn't care about.
He doesn't. But today when I look in the mirror, right? Because I need to live with myself. I know my husband needs to live with me too, but he loves me the way I am, so that's all good. And I'm not saying I don't love myself or anything like that. I'm just saying, like we're taking it back to little girls. If I'm a 32-year-old feeling like this, and I have the life, and I have,
but this is part of the conversation. You're feeling like this at 32. You're grown. You run your own business, and we've got kids.
Feeling? What are 13-year-olds feeling? Like,
Yeah.
what are 10-year-olds feeling? And then I think about my niece who's 12, who was thinking that she's fat because she just ate, and I was like, oh my god, like I have to keep an eye on her, and just even thinking about these things I think I follow on Instagram. I don't know if you girls do as well. A woman, she calls herself the girl's papaya. Do any of you girls know?
The bird's papaya.
The bird's papaya. Sorry, the bird papaya. I spoke about her in the past on your channel, Danny, and she's a woman who's she's pro. And how would you explain her? Like, she's after she's given birth, and she used to be very, very skinny. She used to actually be, I think, either anorexic, I think. And today she's, and help me out here. I'm having difficulty explaining it.
She shows she's a real woman. She's given birth to a few kids. So she's got heavier parts of her body and a lot of stretch marks. And she has a stunning face. And she shows a lot of the like Instagram versus reality, because she can suck it in, use an angle, take a picture where she looks like a supermodel. And then she shows the real picture with cellulite, with stretch marks, with like, a soft tummy. And her account showing that like reality, she went from 80,000 followers to 1 million followers in less than a year and a half of just being real, because people want to see that. And it's shocking. Like, I love her page too. I think she's great. Yeah. And there's times when I go on and I'm like, dang, this girl has balls.
Totally.
But to see the difference, because she'll post one picture, she's like holding the camera up and looking and, doing, I don't really know all the tricks for that, and she looks stunning. And we're so used to seeing pictures like that. And then it's like, she just moves the camera down and it's a totally different, reality. And it's like, wow, what we're being fed and the standard that we're being given is crazy. Another great person to follow on Instagram who shows like real life, and she talks a lot about growing a channel, is Jenna Kutcher. And she's a bigger girl, and her husband is like washboard abs, and she kind of talks about that a lot. But she's got almost 1 million followers, and she has quite a real account. But it's funny because sometimes I see her pictures and I'm like, wow, she's brave. And it's like, why is that brave? Why is looking what you look like brave? And yet there's people, who have you guys seen that awful Netflix show? What is it? I can't remember what it's called. They're like not allowed to have sex. They put a bunch of hot people together and they're not allowed to have sex on this like tropical place. It's so stupid. And they all have like zero personality. They're all like Instagram stars. And this one girl, Francesca, she looks like a blow up doll with like fake lips. Her boobs are out to here. She's got zero waist. And after that show, she's got 5 million followers, and she posts nothing but body photos of herself. And 5 million people, 5 million young girls are looking at those photos thinking, that's what I want to look like. And look how many followers. They're validating her, thinking she must be worth something because she has that many followers. So like now our worth and our popularity is defined by that.
So getting around to the point now, like as you're discussing, as agencyed women who have developed over the years, what can you guys do for your own children with that in mind? Like everyone has their own set of insecurities, right, for different reasons. But this is where these guys are growing up in the social media age, right? Whereas I was very lucky. Back in the rave days, there's no fucking cameras, but there were, but they weren't on. Definitely.
Danny's the king of taking cameras away from people on a night out too. He's like, no, that's not being recorded.
No cameras after dark. It doesn't work. So the point I'm getting to is that our children are born into social media. They don't know any different. So even if you take these things away, there isn't no way of understanding the difference between the two because they're born into it. To a point, they're holding the phone like this more longer in the day than they do not holding the phone in a lot of occasions, depending on the age group, which is almost forming as part of them. That's their everyday habit, the phone, right? You've seen it, like you take a phone off a kid, they go absolutely mental, even at the dinner table for like 5 minutes. So what are some of the things that you guys have got in place? I know with Anne that yours are quite young, you don't have phones, but if I go over to Kata, does Lyra have a phone?
Yeah, unfortunately, she does have a phone, but it's just because I need to work and I don't have broadband where I live. So it was either work or her. She could. That being said, I have had to actually open up the conversation and go through the stages where she was skinny last summer because she was too fat. And then she would cover her tummy, and then she was too hairy, and then her skin wasn't smooth enough. And then she was grumpy and just really bratty all the time, happy. And that kind of led us to realize that this is not, during COVID, there wasn't much we could do without hindering our work. So she would spend a lot more time on screens. And that's when the change really came. She became a different child. And
we're losing you there, Kata.
So going back to can you hear me?
Yeah, can now. Go on. Yep.
Okay. So going back to the stats, it's 180% of growth in the number of cases of girls that have been admitted for self-harm in the United States this year compared to last in the ages of 10 and 14. It's 180% more kids harming themselves because they're not good enough. I mean, how scary is that? And what can we do? We can't beat it, right? We can't take it away forever, but we can manage it. We can have conversations. We can encourage them to be the one that embraces difference, to be the one that, yes, is aware that this is a filter, but this is real life. And to actually grab the phone and say, look, let's take a normal picture. I do this all the time. Let's take a normal picture. And I encourage Lyra to pull funny faces that are not really that great looking. She has a Susan Boyle. She has a Susan Boyle. It's fabulous. And we have such fun when she pulls these funny looking faces. And then she does the filter one. And she's like, which one do you laugh the most? And we have these chats. And now it's switching to, oh yeah, I'm going to be the one that's going to sit with the child that's lonely. I'm going to be the one that's going to stand up. You need to take that opportunity. If a normal kid spend 3 hours on TikTok or online doing whatever versus the 1 hour, this is actually hardcore stats, because I look at them right before in my psychology little forum. The average time a kid spend online every day is 3 hours and 40 minutes. And the average time they spend with their family, it's 1 hour and 2 minutes. Now, how much of that time, it's time where they are anxiously waiting for the family time to be over so they can go back to their devices. And they're just putting up with it, hurrying up the conversation so they can go back to their life or their friends, right? So the levels of anxiety are crazy through the roof. In the past, anxiety was a biological thing. It was your body that was ill. Now it's the mind that's driving the body to start manifesting in all of these psychological issues, So we can always try to, enforce it in a way that's painful for us because they're going to be mad if we take the device away. But that's our job, I'm afraid. We're not their best friends. We are there to bring them up. And that is our responsibility ultimately,
You're seeing in the social dilemma, there's this sweet little girl, long hair, and she posted, pulled a funny face, posted it. Everyone says beautiful, and then someone just mentioned her ears and smiled, and you see her go like that, covering her hair with like that one comment, even though it wasn't facetious, it was like a little bit of play fun. That was enough out of all of those comments to make that little girl feel insecure. It's scary. I'm just going to go to the comments quickly and then we'll get back into it. Hi, beautiful mamas, ... and Danny. I don't know, is that a backhanded compliment? I'm sure it is. Facebook user says, hello. Agster says, wonderful program. FBA is best for taking care of children. Tiff's back. Good morning, Tiff. I hope you're well.
Yeah.
Yelchin's here. Hey, Danny. Such a beautiful ladies together. Nice to see you all. Tiff says, such intelligent, hardworking ladies on the panel today. Wellington's back. Good morning, ladies. Danny, thank you for putting this interview together, sir. You are welcome. Mark Norton says, afternoon, ladies. Kata, is that a Guinness you were drinking? Then Tim, as Kramer said, if you haven't read it, please read Jaron's Lenia's 10 arguments for deleting your social media accounts right now. Helen Graham says, well, let's switch it up. All right, Kat's gone back and said, shh, secret. And Helen's back here saying great conversation. So, Bill, let's bring you back in. So what are some of the things that, you know, how do you feel about stuff? We've gone through COVID, and I know it's the same, like majority is this, observation. Mums are always stressing about not being a good enough mum. And with COVID and trying to work and everything else, what are some of the things that you could relieve them kind of stresses to think that you possibly are not doing enough? You know, because there's like, when you've got to, their kids are off school and you're entertaining 24/7, it's not easy to put a classroom together, keep them completely engaged all day long, and then, you know, making sure that's done as well as of everything else, running businesses and everything else. So what has been your take on COVID for you and how you've had to deal with it? Your mic needs unmuting.
It's
there you go.
interesting because I never. Can you hear me?
We can now. Yep.
Good. Good. I was saying it's very interesting because I never thought that I would ever get to a point in my life where I have to almost schedule time to be with my kid. Because, you know, being a mom, it should be something natural. You just do all day. You're just with your kid, and it's how it should be, right? Like in society, that's what we're told. So, you know, having a business where I work pretty much full time all the time, and with COVID, you know, having dived even deeper into the business, I did feel at times that, you know, I wasn't my best at being a mom. And then it's funny because, you know, I do look on Instagram and I see my friends who don't have a business and they're just perfect moms. And I'm saying, like, my best friend, if she's watching, hi, one of my best friends, she has 2 kids, and literally this girl from morning until night, it's all about her kids. She wakes up, she takes them to the park. At night, she bakes a cake with them. And then she's teaching them all these things. And I'm sitting and I'm looking, I'm like, I am the worst mom in the world. So same thing with, like, when we look at other women, are they beautiful? Are they skinny? Are we the same? I feel like I'm getting sometimes a lot mom shame, but they're not doing it on purpose. I don't know. I don't think anybody's doing anything really on purpose. But for me, I'm like, oh my God, like those kids are going to be so well-rounded and they're going to be so perfect. And my kid is just, you know, being sent to school and, you know, watching a movie or having the tablet or something. So I definitely feel like it's a constant struggle in my life with my kid. And I always feel like I don't do enough. So to relieve some of that pressure that I put on myself, I started, like I said, scheduling time. Okay, in the morning, I spend an hour before he goes to school. We cuddle, we talk, I prepare him for school. And then when he comes home, I'm actually still working. I don't finish working until about 6 or 7 p.m. sometimes. And then I have about 2 hours with him before sleep. But even that, it just doesn't feel like it's enough. And I don't think it ever feels enough. Like even my friend who has the 2 kids, I think if I would ask her, she would say the same thing, that she doesn't feel like she's doing enough. So, you know, I am trying, I'm doing my best. And I just hope that, you know, me showing him that you can still be a parent and still work, and that you can somehow make everything work together. I don't think anybody can, you know, be just successful in everything, but we're all trying to. I mean, I want to give my kid the best he can, but, you know, I come from a very poor upbringing. So in my head, I don't ever want my child to go through that. So it depends on where we're coming from also, our feelings and our past, because for me, what's very important is for him to never be broke. So when it comes to that, like, I'll work my whole life, even though I'm sacrificing some other things. But again, you know, that brings me back, because I do want to show him that I love him and I'm with him. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and it's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
Danny, can I comment on
I was about to ask you to give your point of view, because I know that you have some struggles with it from time to time, didn't you? Are you putting enough out of it?
I had a breakdown 2 weeks ago where I went downstairs and I just started crying, like it's bringing tears to my eyes now. And where I said to my husband, I got into this to be a work from home mom. Like, that's why I do what I do. And then I'm literally working all day long because I run so many businesses, and I'm also addicted to, it's not the money that I'm addicted to. It's the feeling that I feel when I work. I'm addicted to it, and nothing else gives me that apart from when I work. I don't know why, but anyway. And I said to my husband, I'm a terrible mom. And what Izabella is saying is basically what 2020 has been for me. I've consistently had to schedule time in when I'm with my son. And I don't know, I'm in Israel and we're in lockdown number 2 now. We were in lockdown for 2.5 months earlier this year, and we're now in lockdown again, God knows for how long. And it's hard. It's hard with a 3.5-year-old. It's so difficult because business keeps running. Our businesses need to keep on working. I can't take a step back. I work so hard to get to where I am that and not only that, especially, you know, us being also Amazon sellers, there's so much crap going on right now with Amazon that I am finding myself working even harder and also solving other people's problems. And then I've got the whole world on my shoulders. And then I go downstairs because I work from home, and my kid's home. And there's a mess downstairs because he's playing, which is normal because he's a kid and he's stuck at home and he can't go outside. And it's tough, and you have to be patient. And I'm extremely impatient at times lately. And I had this breakdown, and, you know, I'm very blessed to have help, because I have help, and I have my husband and I have my mother. And when I went downstairs and I cried to my husband, he was like, you're the best mom in the world. Obviously the stuff that people say to make you feel better, but I'm still struggling with it and trying to work on myself and trying to work on the feeling bad part of it, because I'm consistently feeling bad. I consistently feel like I'm trying to work in a way where there are times, like Izabella said, that she puts around 2 hours. So I say to myself, okay, so from 4 until 6 or 7, I'm with my son, and then I get a text message for something to do with work. And then I go and I start, you know, like texting. And then my husband's like, are you with the son right now? Or are you working? Like, just go back upstairs if you're going to keep working, type of thing. So I'm like, I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it as if life's perfect right now, because it isn't. It's really difficult for me as a mum. And it's difficult as a mum who works from home, and we're a husband and wife team. So we both work. I don't know if you've noticed, but this desk has come forward. And it's because my husband's office is downstairs, but now my kids, because we're in lockdown, is home all day and there's too much noise. So now he's in the office in here with me as well, you know, and it's tough. And I just think that the best thing, if someone came to me for advice, I think I'd just be like, because this is what I keep saying to myself, is just, you're doing the best you can, right? There's no book that was made on how to be a mum specifically. I'm talking about a mum now. Because there is this thing about being a mom that I feel, I'm sorry if I sound sexist or whatever it is right now, I totally don't mean to, but there is this feeling with being a mom sometimes, I think, compared to when you feel of being a dad. As a mom, like you gave birth to them, you held them like they were in your stomach, you grew them.
Sharon, I totally agree with what you're saying there, because obviously, you know, I was brought up by my mum, and you know, that connection a mum and their children have is different to their husband. It's the same thing when I lost 2 of my children. You get to a point where people knock on the door and they'd like come past you to see how Cheryl was. Do you know what I mean? And that's fine with me. I'd never got offended by that. but I do realise the mother's bond with a child. So what you're saying there is not sexist or anything like that. I just think you know, women carry their children for 9 months. It's a different dynamic, and you know, the roles are different.
I just feel it like I found myself sometimes jealous of my mum who's with my son. Not jealous, I don't know if that's the right word, but like being like, my mum's half bringing my son up sometimes, you know, because she's with him because we're in lockdown, so she's my help. And she's with him a lot of hours during the day. And I'm like, you know, instead of me, it's like you have to choose, run a business or be a mum. And it's so hard to balance it. It really is for me, especially during COVID. It wasn't like this before COVID. I did not feel like this before COVID. But COVID in this year has really made me work on trying to be patient. I've become extremely impatient and finding that balance, which I'm still not there. I'd love to hear how the other mothers are feeling, but I'm totally not there.
2 points I want to make there. No one knows what to do in COVID this first time it's happened. So this is a new experience for everyone. So you can take that off the table. Going back to what Izabella said, when you come from humble beginnings and, you know, your finances can go up and down. If you've got to go out to work and provide all these wonderful things for your children, or you could be at home and be broke, that's another challenge, isn't it? Your kid can't do X, Y, and Z. They can't go and do that because you've got no money, because you're at home and you don't have the opportunity to earn that money. You have to counter that balance. You either provide a better lifestyle. You know, I think if we're all sitting here now, none of us parent our kids like we were parented. Two things: different set of values, right? Although they instill values, different set of values, different decades. How could you parent your kids like your parents parent you? So everyone is in the process of reparenting, if you like, because everyone's fucking going along as they can and doing their very best. So that's why I think sometimes you have to give yourself a bit of a break. You know, if your children's being looked after, you know. Kata, you're the psychologist. Put us all straight.
Help us, God, help. Quietly there, just thinking. To be honest, it's so normal. The mommy needs wine concept. Yeah. It's basically a bunch of really cynical mothers that did their very best throughout the day and knocked themselves off at night. The difference between them and you is that you have the opportunity to be true to yourself and give yourself grace and realize that being a mom does not 100% fulfill you. And guess what? That's okay. Because your child, if you give him the chance to choose between a miserable mom on a 24/7 basis or a happy one for a half an hour even a day, but of quality, what do you think they're going to choose? And you know what? My child and I have this relationship where she gives me one look and she knows if I'm in the mood or not to be a good mom right there. And yes, that made me feel very shitty through many, many years, because she will go to daddy first because he has a calmer temperament, shall we say. But now...
No comment.
Better don't comment, Danny.
No, you do your thing. I'm going to shut up. Go on.
And, you know, the thing is, being a mom, I didn't have a good, you know, like role model. I didn't have a good relationship with my mom. So for me, mother-daughter relationship is not like a fussy little thing. That's something I look at with jealousy. Like, hold on, do moms and kids behave that way? That's so odd, like so physically imposing, like weird. However, when I did realize that it's just, this is me, this is what you get. I'm the best I can with what I've been given, and let's just do this thing. Let's grow together like I did with my son, who is now an adult, you know? And we grew together, and it's okay. And they appreciate you being vulnerable, and they appreciate you being honest, and they appreciate you saying, you know what? I'm sorry if I shouted at you earlier. I just wasn't feeling that great. I know it's not okay and it doesn't make it better, but I just want you to say sorry. And we can talk when you feel ready. And she really appreciates that. Yeah. And she comes back up to me, and sometimes she says, you know what, I'm just not feeling myself today. And like normalizing the fact that you don't have to be super mom. Me too. I live in England now, for goodness sake. I would love to bake and do bunting and do all the British things. I'm just not wired that way, you know? So yes, it might be great. And I look at jealousy when we go to the park and all these moms are just so organic and they're so good and healthy and, you know, but I am happier, I think, because I'm honest with what I really want.
I think
And I mean, Instagram mom life is also not real mom life. Like, yes, she might have posted a beautiful picture of the cake that she made with her kids, but her kitchen is a fucking mess, you know, and she's super stressed about that. She moved the cake over here, just like my like kids' toys are all sitting like right there on my desk, you know. And I think I just wanted to say, Sharon and Izabella, like I grew up with a single mom, and she worked in an office full time and had to drive me an hour to my babysitter and then drive to work and then finish work. So it was at least 12 hours a day that she was gone. And mostly I don't remember that at all. I remember that when we did spend time together, we had like all these little traditions of like, you know, going to get ice cream, and I always get this like blue bubblegum ice cream. And I remember the special times that we had because it always was like a celebration. And I looked up to my mother as this kind of super badass, independent woman who worked really hard. So what you're modeling for your kids, they see what you're doing, they know, and as they get older, you know, you can explain that you work from home and you know, you do have to work, and you created to, you know, your life working from home so you could spend more time. But they respect that, you know. I mean, I know Kata, Lyra is super involved in Kata's business. My business is named after my children, and they see that, and they do the photo shoots. So they understand what it is that I'm doing for work. And I say to them, you know, they're really young, but I still say, I need to go and work now. And a lesson that I learned in COVID, so my first month, 5 weeks, I was up on this farm, and there's no internet, like no cell service. So the only time the internet worked was in this one, this one tiny like space right by the router. So what it meant was when I was not working, I was not working. There was no possibility to like answer my phone right away. And then when I was working, it was like, okay, I have an hour before my ex wants to kill me for leaving him alone with the kids. So I power worked. So I wasn't scrolling Instagram. I wasn't scrolling Facebook. I had no time for that. And actually in those 5 weeks, I still remind myself of that sometimes now, because in those 5 weeks, I was incredibly productive, because even though I was only working maybe 3 hours a day in 3 separate blocks, I would go and power work. And the rest of the time, my phone was away. And it, you know, I think as entrepreneurs, we feel that like if we get an email, we get a message, we have to respond to it right away. But it's not. Like if you schedule a time at the end of the day that is answer, you know, you have maybe 3 times a day where you check your emails and your messages, and that's what you do in that moment. But people don't expect these aren't like $1 billion transactions where people need to know within kind of 1 minute. And then the other thing that I did when I came back was I realized I do need to make sure that I'm spending really quality time with my kids, like not just being in the house. And that is not all the time. It's Saturdays. Saturday mornings, we do adventure day. And the kids, like all week, they're like, they call it Sábado de Aventura. And they're like, Sábado de Aventura. And they get so excited. We don't even do something that exciting. We just like go to a different beach, or sometimes like they share a cupcake, and that's like a huge deal. But I think I found it really, really helpful to the time that I'm with them, you know, once or twice a week, schedule in a time that's like, let's do something special. Kids love tradition and they love celebration. Like if you think back what you remember from your childhood, it's kind of like certain things, right? That like, I mean, for me, it was, I got to take a day off school around Christmas time, and we would go downtown and go window shopping, and we'd always eat at the same restaurant. And that was like, you know, and I remember when I was really little going to eat this Blue Moon ice cream with my mom.
sorry. Are you finished there, Anne?
I'm sorry, that was a rant. Sorry.
That's
Can I
fine.
just say something very short, unlike Anne,
Hey, look.
Danny?
Sorry.
I said, can I just say something really short?
Of course,
unlike
yeah.
You know what? From my experience, you're not going to know if you did a good job or not until your child is grown up enough to tell you. And they may not even tell you. However, my son, who is 22, he posted a GIF to my Instagram. Mind you, he's never actually told me to my face, but he posted this picture that said, be inspired by the one that doesn't want to have a private jet, doesn't want to fly in a private jet. Be the one that owns the fucking jet. And he tagged me and he said, Mom, this made me think of you. That was all of those years of me feeling shitty about working and studying and bringing him up and not spending enough time with him. Right there, paid off. He didn't care. I still inspire him. And they may not say it, and they may a little bit like, oh, you know, whatever, when they grow up. But you can just be you. That's the best you can give.
Cyb left a comment here. You guys have turned out okay in this crazy, fucked up world. Your kids will be fine too. I take that's a compliment for everyone. But no, Cy's a good guy. Thank you, Cy. We've got about 10 minutes to go. One thing I'd like to cover is this next level now, kids on phones, the bullying in the little groups, you know, the WeChats and WhatsApp, sorry. What is your take on that? As I said, it seems to have gone from more physical, overt bullying that you'd have in the playground to now kids are kind of sneaky with their language and stuff, like when they're in their little groups and they start to team up on people. What is, whoever wants to pitch in, what is your take on that? How you guys plan to deal with that if you haven't had to deal with it already? Who wants to go first? Sharon?
I'm not going to say the first thing that came into my head.
Sharon, I know what you're like. I mean, you just like, you don't take any shit off anyone, did you? When the trolls come for you, when the trolls come for you, you go for their throat and then you block them. I've seen it.
But you got to remember, Daddy, that when I was bullied at school, like my dad saved me from that. I wasn't who I am today when I was bullied at school.
Yeah.
So I was actually I was the opposite. And today when I'm a mum, I'm extremely feisty. Like I used to love kids, really love kids. And today as a mum, I hate other people's kids. When I go to the playground, I'm sorry, but I'm just being real. Like I'm just rooting for anyone to fuck with my kid. Like, you know, and sometimes my husband looks at him, he's like, it's just a kid, like calm down. And I'm like, get away from him. But I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. I'm honestly, I'd love to hear how Kata deals with it because I think she's got the oldest kids here. Because I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to deal with that stuff. I don't even want to think about it. I've never been a person who's very like gets panic attacks or things like that. When I think about these things, I don't want my son and my future other child, don't know if it'll be a girl or a boy, whatever it happens, I don't want them to go through anything similar to what I went through. And the thing is that we all go through some sort of bullying in our life. All of us. I'm sure everyone here has gone through something like that in their life.
Bullied as a child, yeah. Absolutely.
So I do think that it does when you go through that, like my dad thought that putting me in martial arts classes will make me, like be strong or whatever. I don't even know how to explain what I'm trying to say. And it didn't work. Although today it does, but it didn't work when I was a kid. It wasn't the right thing. And it was the first thing I said to my husband. I was like, as soon as he can, he's going to be in kickboxing like I was. And he's going to be in this. And he's like, he's a 3.5-year-old kid. You're talking about kickboxing. Like, what the hell? You know? So I don't know, Kata, I'd love to know how you deal with or plan to deal with this stuff.
My case was different because Tom was always so big that my fear was that he was going to be the bully. He's a rugby lad. He's big and chunky and hangs around with the good-looking guys that are mean to the skinny, freckly-looking ones. So my job was always to monitor, like, I am terrible. I'm from South America. I don't give a shit about your privacy. If I'm paying for your phone, I'm checking your messages. Like, so I better not catch you being mean to anyone because I don't care what size he is. I will just grab him and make him go and apologize. Or I'll just try to be kinder, or make sure that he wouldn't let me down by just not integrating someone. I've always tried to bring up kids that are the integrators, that bring the other one that's being left out. Now with Lyra, she's a girl, different world. She's all drama. My guard hand on forehead, that's my life. But she also struggles a lot with her friends, calling her names or telling her things. And you know what? The approach we take is just take a step back, tell them that's not very nice, and that you'll be ready for them when they're ready to apologize, and block them for now, and then she gets them back in. That's the dynamic.
Can I just share something that, and this was even this week with Maya, because as a father, it's a different way of dealing with things, and I can't actually do anything. But one thing I've been talking to about is insincere communication. Is trying to recognize when you're in a group of people. I won't share private stuff, but when you're in a group of people and there's stuff that's odd going on, take a look at the communication. Is it insincere communication? Is it reaction creating behavior? Because sometimes even if someone's doing reaction making behavior, even if you bring it to their attention, they can turn that on you and say, no, you're the ones doing it. And it's back, forth. So I've just said, look, what you need to do, and she's done really well with it, is to identify that kind of behavior and having the ability to step back. And I've said to her, look, if you can explain to someone who is, if they were to approach you that way, because she's very tall, Maya, so she doesn't get bullied at all. But I'm worried about the years older, like the kids that are older than her, they look down and go, oh, look, there's the tall one. I'll bully that person. So I said, always look to see insincere communication. If it's insincere, you cannot be sincere in your responses, but keep your responses short. And if someone does unload on you in that way, let them know, look, these are your feelings. They're your feelings. They're not my feelings. And I'm not there to take those feelings on. And it's helped but dispense some of that, the drama. It won't stop. But there are points where she realizes is that, everyone has their drama friend around them. And there's a difference, right? In terms of having the friend who you have a conversation with and they need your help. So you sit there, listen, and they can vent and they can unload, right? But there's the difference between supporting your friend and crazy making conversation, which is used to set off other people and take pictures and make fun of other people. And I'm very proud of her dealing with that. But it takes time and patience to recognize the difference between the two. Anyway, that was my little rant, but I'm proud of my little girl.
Good on you, Danny.
I think that's awesome, Danny. And I think that's the thing. We can't necessarily keep them away from social media. We can't protect our kids from all bullying. Although I will say in the social dilemma, like the people who are the biggest Nazis about like letting kids use the phones are people who work in technology. And in Silicon Valley, the hardest school to get into is Waldorf. That is a no technology school. So my plan is to be like, my kids aren't having a smartphone until they're teenagers, for sure. Because I think it's so dangerous when they have control of it. But the other thing is, you can't protect them from everything, but giving them the tools to deal with it, teaching them, really working on like your face-to-face conversation and giving them the tools to know what their identity is, how to communicate with people, how to handle negative situations instead of running away from it. And a lot of the time it's just talking to your kids and how are you feeling today? What happened? How did that make you feel? Instead of trying to like make them feel better, like let's work through the emotion and learn how to actually deal with it and complete the cycle instead of just avoidance behavior, which will just lead to them going back to their phones.
Yeah. Okay. One piece of advice from you ladies to other mothers out there who listen to the show. What was, Sharon, starting with you, what was the one piece of advice you would give in terms of parenting? Everyone has their different styles, but what's your one thing?
Wow, I have to think about it. I think that just where I am at this year, being in so many lockdowns, the best advice I have is just to do the best that you can. And the fact that, for example, people like me or Izabella or maybe the other ladies here too, you have to schedule time with your kid. Like, it's okay. This is what I would want to hear right now when I'm going through this. It's okay. You're doing the best you can, and just, it's okay. That's the best thing that I would really like to hear other people tell me right now. So that's what I can say to the other working mums out there.
Cool. Izabella?
Yeah, Sharon, you are so right. And I think just like listen to your kids. I mean, my kid is 4, so there is communication, but there's many really thoughtful and deep spiritual conversations per se. But maybe like an advice that I would give even myself is to be ready and open and make sure that there's a easy communication flow. I don't ever want my kids to be like, I can tell mom this or this. And sometimes like what I do, I feel like I'm pushing him to never tell me these things. So I don't know sometimes how to discipline, but also still be the cool mom that he can tell things, because I never want him to like get into drugs or something because he couldn't talk to me about it. So maybe find a communication way to with your kid.
Excellent. Anne?
Yeah, I would just, to all parents, like, you are doing amazing. If you're thinking about how well you're doing, that means you care and you're full of love and you're doing amazing. And at the end of the day, what kids need is to know that they're loved. So if you love them and you tell them that, you're doing amazing.
Kata?
Give yourself grace and ask your child lots of questions.
Cool. Well, let's wrap that there. Going around the room, Sharon, best way people can reach you?
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Sharon Evan.
Excellent. Kata?
Facebook or Kata at titanmembers.com.
Excellent. And?
Instagram at moondancer.puravida.
Lovely. Izabella, and plug the new channel, even though it's only got one video. It's a start. It's the start of many. Yeah.
Izabella Hamilton on Facebook, or you can watch my one video on YouTube, The Right Bell.
Excellent. Cool. Just let you guys know what's coming up this week. Tomorrow, Leran's back. We're going to be discussing Amazon going after customers about 1-star reviews and asking them what the issues are. So we're going to pick that one apart tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, we bring back Michelle Venton. We'll be talking Life After Exit is our third part in the series. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing an in-depth profile of Destiny Wishon. If you haven't already, don't forget, vote at sellerpoll.com, brought to you by Ferrasio. Also, check out the new PPC tool that we have to optimize your search term reports in a fraction of the time. Visit databrill.com/tool. We're just coming out of beta. So please feel free to give your feedback. Take care of your loved ones, your family, and your friends. I'll be back here as usual, 4 p.m. tomorrow. BST. Take care and thank you.